Cameron was talking smack, so I hit the live button. Take
Good.
that, y'all.
Needed the prep. I needed prep, man.
You need the prep.
Yep, prep time.
Why? What is the hint that you feel you need here?
I need just to take a deep breath and just prepare for our large audience that shows up for these.
As one does. I have very dramatic lighting here today, although I'm a little undersaturated.
It's okay.
Yeah,
see, if you had more time, you could have prepared.
Yeah, but then we would see what everyone else is hearing is that that Cameron would prefer to keep all of our eager listeners waiting, while I wanted to get started so that all y'all can get access to these amazing brains that we have for all of the advice and feedback. Okay. Well, welcome to the Traction Lab weekly office hours. This is our final office hours of 2025, I think, right?
Potentially, yeah. We haven't said if we want to do it. I'm not sure the Friday, not of Christmas, but the Friday after. It is January, so this would be the last one.
All right, so we're taking 1 week off next week, but we are here to answer your questions. Thank you to those of you who submitted questions in advance. You can always submit a question in advance. JDM.bio, hit the calendar button. There's a link to fill out a little questionnaire. You get a little more breathing room, but we do prioritize live questions. So if you've got a question, drop it into the chat here on YouTube or LinkedIn, and we are happy to take your questions. Otherwise, we do have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 questions that were submitted in advance. So y'all got a lot on your mind this holiday season. And so thank you for doing that work. Like we're in the holiday, season here. We got the Hanukkah, we got the Christmas, we got the Kwanzaa, we got the New Year's, and we've got Isaac Newton's birthday. We've got it's the month Carl Sagan was born. There's a lot to celebrate in the month of December. So I'm sure everybody's got a million things to do. Maybe you're watching this while you're wrapping some last minute Christmas presents. But if you got a question you want to drop it in. I think Cameron's starting music.
If you wanted that undertone,
just give us a little undertone. I like a little.
Yeah.
Not really the vibe I would pick, but
it's Christmas undertone. Yeah. There you go.
All right. Well, we're gonna sit here and answer your questions with magical tunes in the background. But with that, let's dive in. First question. I see Cameron, you already warmed up the chat. So all y'all out there in listener land, if you got a question, drop it into the chat. We prioritize the live ones, but we do have the questions that were submitted in advance. So we're gonna go straight on to those. We've got 4 questions, which is enough for our trusty die. We're gonna start with question number 1. That was bound to happen. All right. So this is a B2B SaaS play for home organizers like Marie Kondo's type professionals. They're at the paid pilot stage and they say, okay, this is probably a dumb question, but gotta love anyone who starts with that. Okay, this is probably a dumb question, but I'm gonna ask anyway. We have 14 professional organizers paying for pilots. They absolutely rave about our before and after photo management and client project tracking. Got it. Okay. Like genuinely enthusiastic, but the whole industry is maybe 5,000 people, question mark. Is that a question? I don't know. In the entire US, question mark. And most of them work part-time. I did the math. And even if we got 20% market share at $60 per month, that's only $60,000 in MRR. Max period ever period. My co-founder says we should pivot to adjacent markets like interior designers or home stagers. I think we should just accept this as a lifestyle business and not a venture scale thing. Who's right? By the way, we're bootstrapped, no investors yet, both working full-time jobs still. Well, at 60,000 MRR, you're going to be working your full-time jobs forever. So that's not a dig. That's just a fact. I mean, it's not, but
It depends on how much they're making at their full-time job.
it does, and it also depends on like what the actual margins are on this business. If they can keep the margins pretty light, then they can each get a decent salary out of it. But okay, I mean, I have thoughts. I don't know if you wanted to dive in first, Cameron, or do you want me to go?
No, I think they're asking the right questions. I don't know if it's a dumb question. I think it's probably where that's coming from is like, hey, we went down this path thinking we were building a, venture scale type company. And then, maybe realizing that there's not fully a large enough market opportunity for it. So I don't know if it's a matter of like who's right, but like if you want to have a lifestyle business, like we talk about like starting with what we call your minimum success criteria. So what does even success in running a lifestyle business look like? So if you make X number of grand a year or a month, like what does that look like for you to actually have the revenue to generate that same amount of income? And like, are there enough customers for you to be able to actually meet that? And if you're not even meeting the lifestyle, well, you're definitely not on a path for venture scale. And so I think partly just doing some of that math to see, and it sounds like you might have even been generous in some of these conversion rates, which could be, a challenge when you're looking at the overall ability. But I think the question for you and your co-founder would be tackling like, what is that minimum success criteria, and like, what is the type of venture that you want to dive? And then, if this isn't what you want, is there an out where, someone's willing to purchase these customers because there's, some other opportunity? But that would be my initial thought, is just thinking through that minimum success criteria.
Yeah. Agreed. A couple things. So I agree that I don't think it's a dumb question. I think it's a good question. I think you're asking the right question, but you're asking it to the wrong people. There's no right or wrong in this territory. So your who's right question, it's the right answer for you. And so this is a question to have between you and your co-founder. And we can tell you how to get the data that you can bring to that conversation, and we can help you evaluate what the different options, how they might end up play out. But at the end of the day, this is a question about what you want in life. And that's not a question the Traction Lab can answer for you. A couple things do come to mind, right? So one is that if you guys are not on the same page about whether you want a lifestyle business or a scalable startup, then that's a problem. And if your co-founder really wants to go with something large and you want to stay with something small, then that's maybe there's something you can work out there. Sharing the technology part, parting ways, sort of formally. Let him pursue the other markets while you pursue this smaller market. It could be fine. Or if you really want to be dragged along for the ride. I'm not sure why you are resistant to exploring adjacent markets. I don't know if you just have a lack of passion there, or if you're concerned about something specific, or what the reason is. But if you don't have a specific objection there, and you are interested in something more than a lifestyle business potentially, then I think there's a conversation to be had there. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like I can't answer this for you, and I think we need to, bring you on screen and you and your co-founder and like have a much more substantive discussion about what you both are wanting and the sacrifices and trade-offs that you're willing to make. The 30,000 foot view of those trade-offs is that if you're trying to turn this into a scalable thing, you're going to be working your full-time jobs for a little longer. Then you're going to quit your full-time jobs and you're going to scale back and live on top ramen for a while until you can turn this into a big thing and then exit out. The old joke is you're going to live for a few years like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't, right? So that's the thing there. Alternatively, with a lifestyle business, you can afford to pay yourself much sooner. And so you can sort of scale yourself out of your existing job, but the potential upside long-term is much, much smaller. So that's as much as I can give you without knowing more about what you guys actually want in life.
Well, that's a good question going into the new year, what they want in life and the venture.
It certainly is. It certainly is. We'll just hope this doesn't like surround any major birthdays. Nobody just turned 30 or 40 or something like that. And they're just coupling this with their midlife crisis. And it's going to end with an irresponsible sports car and some type of marital crisis. All right. Moving on to the next question, I suppose. Cut me some slack here. It's the end of the year. This is B2B SaaS.
The slack has been cut.
The slack, thank you. Appreciate it. Does that mean I'm adrift now that the slack's been actually cut? We'll take another question here, but we do prioritize the live questions. If you guys got a live question, drop it into the chat. We always love taking your live questions. If you want a little bit more breathing room, you can hit jdm.bio, click the calendar button, and then you can fill out a question to ask us in advance. It's a little bit more structured as you get from these questions. All right. Next question. We'll just go in order here. We have a B2B SaaS for artisan bakers selling at farmers markets and via pre-orders. So that's quite the thing there. They have an MVP in progress. Here's my question, and I really need honest feedback. We promise you that. Are we solving a problem that doesn't need solving? We're building order management for small bakeries, tracking pre-orders, managing pickup times, and inventory planning. Bakers we've talked to say it would be nice to have instead of their current system, which is group text and a notebook, but nice to have isn't compelling enough to get people to change behavior and pay money. You've been watching my videos, thank you. How do you tell the difference between a real pain and just ... mild inconvenience? ? My co-founder is a baker and she's frustrated with the manual process, which is why we started this. But now I'm wondering if her pain is unique or if most bakers actually don't mind the current way. I'll let you go first on this one, Cameron.
Yeah, I think the thing that comes to mind for me, and I know you'll add on to some additional thing, but was like, I think they're a component of like really wanting to see this shift in urgency is like, what is the major, we often talk about the triggering event to drive this urgency and severity related to it. And so it seems like, if you're hearing it's a nice to have, they're not really motivated. So you're gonna have to do a lot of like, it seems like more sales process of like what additionally things they get out of it. And, maybe you'll convert someone here and there, but it's a lot more of like pushing it on them versus them like being, pulled to finding that particular solution because there's like an urgent pain point around it. And so like, is there a point for some of these bakers where it becomes more urgent where, a manual process no longer scales with their work? So maybe it's like they move from having just one bakery to 5 bakeries and you can't manage 5 bakeries on paper. And so that becomes a greater issue. And so I think it's partly understanding what that event might look like. And, you're going to find that out through conversations. This kind of co-founder, obviously, it sounds like they're trying to hack together a solution alongside you as a co-founder. And so like, what was the motivation to do that? Was it just like, hey, I want to work on a fun project and I'm bored? Or like, did this actually become truly a pain point that they needed to have solved? And what was that expectation violation that then got them to say, hey, we really need to find a solution to this?
Yeah. Well said. So what?
Just fun.
I just decided to bring up, a little graphic here. So for my answer to this, I think you answered your own question, is kind of how I view this. But when we look at the nice to have versus need to have, so vitamins versus painkillers, there's usually this intersection of severity and urgency. And so this is the matrix that we use at the Traction Lab. So on the x-axis, we have the urgency of the problem. So how urgent is it to solve? And then on the y-axis, we have the severity of the pain that creates this, we like these 2x2 matrices here. So it creates this 2x2 grid. And you have on the bottom stuff where the pain isn't very severe. We're not at all interested in that stuff, right? And then you have how urgent is the problem to solve. And so if you're solving a problem that is not very urgent but is really severe, then you get a lot of false positive signals. These are the like, oh, this would be great to have, like, oh, man, these spreadsheets suck, or the writing this down on a notebook sucks, and it'd be great if we were able to blah blah blah. And I don't like having to manage a text thread. It'd be way easier if we just had a platform where people could do their pre-orders. And you're going to get all those signals, but when it goes to get somebody to sign, they're not going to sign. And it's because it's not an important problem in the grand scheme of things. It's not problem 1, 2, or 3 on their list. It's problem number 7 on their list, and nobody pays to solve problem number 7. And that's where you get this trap, which is in that upper left-hand corner of the grid there, where it says it's a trap, with the little image of Admiral Akbar. Because that's usually what happens, is you end up in this trap and you don't realize it until it's too late. You don't have any runway left. What we're really after are the ones all the way in that upper right quadrant where it's a really severe problem and really urgent. And I think what you're hearing from bakers is that it's not that maybe the problem isn't even actually that severe. That's kind of an open question, I think, but it's certainly not urgent and severe. It's certainly not that big problem. And so regardless of whether it's a mild inconvenience or a severe problem, it's not their most important problem. And so I think that the signal that you're getting back from the market is, nah, we good. In which case, move on, I guess.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, we're just gonna wrap that little gift and put it under the tree for you. Well, I mean, they started off okay. I really need honest feedback, so we gave it. But but let's see if we can turn this into something. So Cameron, what would you do next? You're in their shoes. We're on the wrong track. What do you do?
Yeah, good question. So I mean, they've been having customer conversations, which is great. And they have this MVP in progress. And so I'm wondering if there's they can test willingness to pay and just get some direct feedback related to that. So I think if they're building the MVP but haven't really put the offer in front of them, we've kicked that can down the road. So if they're not learning anything new and aren't set on saying they're giving up on it, then see if people are willing to pay something that actually makes sense, not have it be where you're this super low cost thing that's never going to be actually scalable going forward. So that's just one idea that comes to mind. It's put an actual offer in front of them.
Agreed. That's how you know whether or not to pull the trigger or pull the plug, I guess, and euthanize this poor startup. This is why people come to the Traction Lab, okay? But here's my question back to the founders, to you guys, would be, is there a problem that the bakers have that is severe and urgent, right? What is something that is a really, what's their number one problem? What is the biggest problem that they have? And can you solve that for them, right? That's one avenue that you can take for this is there a market opportunity to be found within the same customer segment? And the second question that you could ask is there a market opportunity to be found with a different customer segment, but the same product? So this kind of ordering system, right? It was an ordering system. Yeah, order management system. Is there somebody who's not these same bakers who might benefit from that or a comparable technology? In which case you can explore that there. So same customer, different technology, or same technology, different customer. Those would be the two things that I would start to form hypotheses around, and then again try to get some data from the market in the form of real experiments to help you determine which path is the best path to take. But follow Cameron's advice, and if you don't get the result that you want, which it sounds like is what you're expecting, then cut your losses, move on. All right. Speaking of moving
on
on,
to the next one.
yeah, we'll do a. You guys are quiet today. I get it. It's the holidays. Everybody's kind of off doing their own thing.
Might just be the holiday music. You know, they're so chill.
You know, and that's fine. That's fine as well. Maybe everybody's too happy with their hot cocoa to really want to talk about their own startup, and that's fine. You guys were really active on the website, so that's good. All right, next one. B2B SaaS for retirement planning advisors. These are CFPs focused on retirees. Is that what is
Certified financial planners.
Got it. Thank you. All right, focused on retirees. They're at the unpaid pilot stage, and they said they have 11 financial advisors testing our retirement income planning software. The feedback is uniformly positive. They say it's more sophisticated than what they're currently using, but period. Every single advisor has mentioned that they need to check with their compliance department before they can pay for it. And compliance departments are black holes where requests go to die. It's really holiday spirit you guys are all in today. Some advisors submitted requests 3 months ago and still haven't heard back. Is this just how financial services works? Do we need to start selling to compliance departments instead? That sounds like a nightmare. Our one advisor's compliance officer told him they need to review our data security protocols, disaster recovery plan, and business continuity plan. We're a 2-person startup. We don't have a business continuity plan. All right.
So I have 2 initial thoughts. Was I think, tied to kind of the prior question, was thinking through that urgency and severity. And I bring that up mainly if there is that urgency on the CFPs, the certified financial planner, or this financial advisor, if they are experiencing this problem with urgency and severity, they're going to be motivated to kind of put pressure on this compliance officer. And so I think what you're partly experiencing is like, oh, maybe this is an interesting solution. There might be, a decent pain point there, but they're not like super urgent and motivated to solve that problem here and now is kind of how I'm reading into it. And so, it can feel like a black hole, particularly because maybe that's where things go to die is in compliance. But that also could be an easy out for them to say, hey, we're just not interested currently. So that would be kind of my first thought. And then you kind of have the question of like, are we going to sell to compliance? Like, I don't think that that's the right framing, but recognizing they're a key component of the ecosystem of buying this offering. So maybe they do have the budget ability, but they do have to check certain boxes, and compliance could be one of them, or it could just be a facade of them saying they don't want to put resources to it as well. So I think peeling apart what that would look like, and why are they not motivating and putting pressure on the compliance team is a question I would have.
I have the exact same question. And so tactically, I would map out the ecosystem. So so we know who the user is, it's the CFPs, but who is the buyer? Who are the stakeholders in the conversation? Who are influencers? Who actually makes the decision at the end of the day, even if they're not the economic buyer? And then who are the saboteurs in this process? And so compliance is going to play a role in this. They're going to be you didn't say specifically, but I'm guessing that they're more of a stakeholder in the process as opposed to, or sorry, an influencer in the process as opposed to a stakeholder. It doesn't seem like they really care about the solution itself. It's just they have some technology and compliance boxes that they need to check, which is fairly normal. But if you have what that ecosystem looks like, do you even have all the parties represented? And this is the challenge that we often see with unpaid pilots, is that unpaid pilots very often, maybe even more often than not, end up in this situation. And it's because what you basically offered a bunch of financial planners was a free trial, and with nothing real attached to it. And so they were able to say yes. And so you end up marching down this path, which had to have been at least 3 months ago, because you said at least one of them took 3 months to get back to you. So for months, you've been spending time going down this path where it might be a dead end. And so what we want to do with pilots is front load the conversion conversation to before the pilot. It doesn't mean it has to be a paid pilot, although those are the best, but we need to have the conversation about how we get from where we are to an official paid usage. I'm also curious about this, is that and one of the things that makes me kind of think Cameron might be right is that they are able to use it under the pilot, they just can't pay for it without going through compliance. That is so like there's you see what I'm saying? Like that makes me think that this might be an excuse that you're hearing, or the other alternative could be that they don't want to pay for it. They're not paying for it at their dollars. Like they're happy to use it, they like it, but we're not paying for it. And so like my boss needs to pay for this, and boss is like, I got to check with compliance. Like we can't buy anything that goes through the compliance. And so now you don't have any real internal champion, and the people that you're talking to are nowhere close to the actual decision makers on something like this. And maybe it's not compliance as the customer, but 5 chains up, or 5 levels up in the chain of commands, and like in the organizational hierarchy is the person who actually makes decisions and stuff like this, and who could actually they're the only person who could pester compliance, because everybody else is just like, when they're talking to compliance, they filled out a ticket in a system somewhere, and like they don't even have a phone number of somebody they can call, because that's not, they're not at that level. So you could just be like, but either way, all of those problems are a symptom of the same thing, which is we gave a bunch of people who are at the end of the day might only be users a free trial with no idea how we were going to get from a free trial to a paid product. And so now we've gone down this road where we think that the problem is something else, it's compliance, it's whatever, but we actually don't know what the problem is yet. And so now we're doing the work that we should have done at the beginning of the pilot, which is fine. But go back now, map out that ecosystem, talk to them, who actually makes these decisions, ask them about other software that they've purchased, and how, like, who is involved in that, how did that process go, who authorized this, who's involved in that, who makes decisions, and then actually get a list of like, what is the actual approval process for compliance, not what are they looking for, right? Because then they're going to give you this laundry list, like you mentioned here, business continuity plan and so forth. But what's the actual compliance process? They're going to give you a questionnaire, and then they sign off when you complete the questionnaire, or is there more to it than that? Right. So are they looking for certifications? How do they verify any of this? If they do verify, what does that actual compliance process look like? And if you actually can't get that detail from them, then it's even more of a red flag that you have nobody on the inside who cares enough to push compliance for an answer.
Mm-hmm. I think one last point, and then Shauna has a question thrown in the chat, so we can bring that in, they're pretty broad on these financial planners or these retirement planning advisors. Like, are they working for Morgan Stanley, or are they like running their own office and it's a small team? And so, if you're like getting stuck in Morgan Stanley corporate compliance is very different than like, hey, it's a 10-person team. If the 10-person team can't like put a little pressure on their compliance team to move something forward, then like that's an issue versus like, I'm thinking of I imagine there's a large compliance team at some of these large corporate types of financial advising firms. So that would be a little bit different. So I think narrowing down or understanding that landscape will be key too.
Yeah, good point. Customer profile actually might then signal another opportunity, that maybe instead of targeting the Morgan Stanleys, they need to go after some of these smaller players, at least to start with, right? But okay, great. Thanks, Shauna, for asking a question. It's always good to see you hanging out with us. In your opinion, what's the best way to thoughtfully sort and pilot feedback when it involves children, parents, and multiple perspectives? Grotesquely, unethically, and with no guide rails of any kind would be my preference there. So I'm not 100% sure that I follow exactly what you're pointing at here, but multiple perspectives, sorting and the feedback. One thing I would say is that, like, whenever we do a pilot, we're doing it for a purpose, and I think that we really want to be clear with ourselves and of course with the people that are doing the pilot too, but like with ourselves about what that point is, and then making sure that that makes sense. So if we're doing a pilot in order to figure out if the thing works, right, then what we're actually looking for is that's what we would call a feasibility pilot, right? And so like, okay, so we can do a feasibility pilot, that's fine, but is that the right thing to do at all? But setting that aside, let's assume that it is. Then it's like, okay, well, what does working look like? And then that gives us the answer to how we bucket and pilot the stuff, because what we want to see is that, parents and children are both utilize it. They're going to utilize it with these different frequencies, and the children are going to keep coming back, and the parents are going to get out, certain data they're going to want to get, and they're going to do that. And like, there's all that stuff. that fits in there. If we're doing a desirability test, then the feedback is sort of secondary, because what we're really trying to do is see if we can get people to convert. And so then now what we're really defining is what, is similar to the financial planning question that we just had, is like, how much can we front load the conversation about what this looks like to purchase in the real world, and then basically get an agreement to purchase it if certain things are met. If the most important outcome that they're looking for, they get within the time period of the pilot, then that becomes how you sort through that feedback, because it's all tied specifically around that metric that is the gate that you have to go through in order to get them to pay, right? In order to prove that desirability there. So that's my initial thought. Cameron, I'll let you kind of chime in with your thoughts too. And Shauna, feel free to add more detail, or if I completely missed what you were trying to ask, then definitely throw another comment in there. But Cameron, take it away.
Yeah, I don't have a ton else to add. I think it kind of relates back to the understanding the ecosystem of the problem you're solving for, and like what role do each of these users or customers in the experience play, and what does success look like for them. So if like none of them interact with the solution, then like why, the perspective doesn't matter as much. But if it's, hey, they need to get value to then articulate to the economic buyer why this makes sense, then you want to be able to track that feedback going forward. But again, we're looking at it more likely from a desirability lens than like feedback on just the, hey, does it have user accessibility and things of that nature. That feedback can be valuable, but in the lens of a different experiment and test and risk.
Awesome. Well, again, Shauna, feel free to follow up, and we'll bring that back up. But in the meantime, we have one final question that was submitted in advance. And so we will go ahead and tackle that now, because why not? And this one is another B2B SaaS. You guys are loading us up with the B2B SaaS today. I like it. Bike shop owners doing sales and service. Cool. All right. So they have 71,000 in ARR, growing steadily, but not quickly. I don't know what that means, but all right. I keep hearing VCs want 10x better solutions. Our point of sale and service tracking system is maybe 3 times better than what bike shops use now, ? It's definitely better. It's just not revolutionary. Is 3x enough to build a real business, even if it's not venture backable? Should we be trying to make it 10x better, or just focus on execution and growing sustainably? 95 bike shops paying $62 per month average. Retention is solid. Customers are happy. We're profitable, just not hyper growth. Is that okay, or are we wasting our time? Did you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Some of these are similar in the sense of like, I think you have to ask the question of like, what type of venture do you want to run? Like we can't answer the question of, do you want to build a scalable startup, or do you want to run a lifestyle business? So what does success look like from that perspective of things for you and your team would be the first question back to be thinking about. And then, if it's not 10x better, one, the VC, if they don't have the problem, like I think they're kind of providing, a perspective that is like the 10x better should be relative to the customer's problem and their perspective. So if that's where that's coming from versus they just want to have more technology in it for technology's sake, then I don't think that that's necessary. But you've kind of called out yourself that you don't think it's 10 times better. And like we've talked a lot about that from like switching costs and things of that nature, for you to actually get traction in the market with that kind of hyper growth that you're maybe looking for. Again, if you're fine just growing steadily and sustainably, then like what is your measurement of success related to that? Again, like what is your minimum success criteria? So that would be the first question. And then I would push you to think about contextualizing the 10x better related to the customer and their problem that you're solving for, versus just like a VC wants the solution to be 10x better for what?
For reasons, Cameron.
For that reason, I am out, is what they're saying.
I couldn't agree more. That's exactly where my head went as well. Like I don't really care if a VC thinks it's 10x better or not, or if you think it's 10x better or not, only if the customer does. And I don't actually think I don't actually even care if the customer says it's 10x better or says it's 3x better. What I care about is the math. So and that's all, like 10x is a proxy for us saying that that's enough, as Cameron mentioned, to overcome switching costs. That's the proxy, right? If we're 10x better, you're usually able to overcome switching costs. And so in a large market, you can really capture some quick growth, right? That's what we're actually, but it's a proxy. It's not an actual measurement. There's no scale on which we're saying they rated this, we need to be 10x this, and that's what we do. That's just not how this works. So what we're actually saying is that like whether you're 10x better or 3x better, I think is missing the point. The point is, what is the total addressable market here? Is the total addressable market venture scalable? If it is, okay, then we've checked the first box. And the second box we need to check is, are you sufficiently better stroke different that you're able to get adoption in that market? Now, I don't have enough. I have the numerators here. So you have like, 95 bike shops, $62 per month, which equates to 71,000 in ARR. But I don't know what the denominators are in any of that. Out of how many? What's your close rate? What's your customer acquisition cost? What percentage of the TAM have we actually captured now? And so like all of those things are going to sort of point to, are we capturing enough of that market for this to be interesting? And that's where the question is. And like the 10x proxy is no longer really interesting. I think what they're pointing at there is that they don't think that math is working. And that's like, and if that's what they're pointing at, then I want to dive in a lot more to the math and then like see why is that? And if your conversion rates are just low, or if it's a certain type of bike shop who feels the pain really acutely and the others don't, then it's like, okay, great. Like that's maybe either a lifestyle business or a wedge into the market. And then we have to figure out what the 10x better thing is to capture the larger share of the market, in which case that's conversation. But if that's not what they're saying, like if it's not a math thing, then 10x better is probably a proxy for their lack of familiarity with the space and with the market. And this is like, they're just getting this like, it's got the oeuvre of, marginally better. And that's just uninteresting. It's not sexy would be how I would usually phrase something like that. And they just don't think this is a very sexy business. And for that reason, they're out, which is dumb. Either go to some better VCs or tell a better story. And so that's how I would sort of like think around this. But I would say stop getting stuck on the 10x better versus 3x better and say, does the conversion math support this being a venture backable startup or not? They're telling you that it doesn't, but do they mean that? Or are they just, again, giving you the sense, like they get this feeling that it's not sexy, that they're then saying you're not 10x better. We're only interested in really sexy solutions, in which case there's either a thesis mismatch with the VCs that you're talking to, or there's something that you can improve with your storytelling there. That's all I got. You got more there, Cameron? You good?
Yep.
Did we successfully beat that horse?
We did.
Awesome. Well, with that, we don't have any more questions in the live chat, so we're going to vamp for a minute. But before we part, we're going to give you, as we always do, the ubiquitous vamp for you to get that burning question out and drop it into the chat so that we can ask it live. We can still be here for 20 more minutes if you guys have questions for us. Otherwise, we'll just vamp for a minute and then we'll wish everybody a happy holiday season and see you guys in the new year. But to vamp for a moment, it's been quite the year, I think, Cameron, with the Traction Lab. And so as we like head toward 2026, which again, like an old person, I'm like, how can it be another new year? But here we are, just nigh on 2026. And so we've been working at the Traction Lab for more than a year now. And we've got like, I'm not going to spend time bragging, but I'm pleased with, like, I think we've been able to do some really good work. And some companies that we've been working with have made some really successful, like really stellar progress. There was a successful exit from the portfolio and like all that's great. And I don't want to brag about any of that, but it's got me thinking a lot about what's next. And so I thought maybe like while we're just sitting here, we can vamp for a minute on some of the cool shit that we got coming up, including we have our high conviction startup course that we'll be launching sometime within the next couple of weeks, actually, probably the first week of January. We were going to launch it earlier, and then we're a little bit delayed, and then we hit the holidays, and we're like, we're not going to launch during the holidays. So that's kind of where we are right now. But probably first week of January, we'll launch this. And so the High Conviction Startup course is a free like 7-day email course that you can take on how to ensure that the startup you're working on is really that high conviction startup, that you have something that's really impactful and interesting and compelling from an investment perspective. And so how do you go about the process of actually getting that narrative right? So we're gonna have that 7-day email course that will be launching fairly soon. Sometime in the early part of the year, we'll also be launching the Traction Lab Venture School. Why don't you give the 30-second version of that?
Perfect. Yeah. Well, one, would love for those to sign up for the High Convictions course. We're excited for that. In terms of the Traction Lab Venture School is kind of the next step of that. So it's a good transition from like learning how we'd say is like traction thinking and then applying traction science. And so we would help you go through the process of applying those frameworks and actually applying science to your ventures, really with the intention to help you one, tackle your riskiest assumptions and starting to build that behavior and habit of doing that on a regular basis, and then culminating with an opportunity for you to start to put that into your investment structure and ultimately in your investor pitch. But again, it's less of the pitch performance aspect, but more geared towards how do you build a company worth getting investment. And so we go through the foundations of the traction thinking, but also the traction science component of it. Again, as you know from us, is really hands-on in the way that you're going to be applying those frameworks going forward.
Cool. Yeah, and so the venture school that we'll be launching soon, we'll just really kind of put this up on steroids, and so and that'll be a much longer thing. It's not going to be a 7-day email course. It's going to take a few months to go through the process of like really getting like building a business that's worth pitching. We will likely have a venture capital competition as part of that as well. We're still working on the details, but an opportunity to by participating in the school to pitch to earn some non-dilutive capital. So we're working on that. And then the Traction Lab more broadly is also we have 32 companies in our portfolio from this year. We're going to be really doubling down on the companies that it makes sense to double down in 2026, which is awesome, and looking for new opportunities. So those of you who are out there in startup land working on something that's venture backable, hit us up, and we do have rolling applications. We got some new companies that we're excited to be onboarding, but we're not at capacity anymore, and so it'd be awesome while we have this brief break to get some of you guys into the lab running some experiments with us. We'd love that. Just throw us a DM. But we did get a question. It always works. You guys always come through for us. If we vamp, you come through for us. So thank you to Norman for giving us a question. Do you think college is still worth it? Is the new generation is starting off in trade schools than college due to financial reasons? Do I think I mean, man, this is a harder question. We're just coming in with the tough ones. I mean, if you want to become a doctor, I think college is probably worth it. But that's just my perspective. I prefer my medical professionals to have substantive education and relevant training. I think there's a lot of things where that, for me personally, I would say that it doesn't make as much sense as it used to. There's highly skilled jobs, and highly skilled jobs can you can get the training you need from trade schools. Some of them you need to go to college for. But I have a little bit of a challenge, I think, with this idea that what is quote unquote right, like from like a moral perspective in our society, is that you have to go dramatically into debt in order to be able to go to college, in order to go to college and have that checkbox. And I don't think that I don't think that's wise. And I think a lot of times that math just doesn't pencil out for a lot of people. I think there's a lot of careers where that does make sense, but there's plenty where it does not. And personally, as a fan of entrepreneurship, right, are there things that you can learn in college that are valuable to entrepreneurship? Of course. Is that the necessary path to doing that? And if you want to rock and roll when you're 19 and start going down the entrepreneurship path, then that's like more power to you. That's great. I don't think that we live in a society where we should be dependent on what for a lot of people is this like checkbox where we don't even really care, right? Like you went to a 4-year school and you got a degree in art history, and somehow that matters for a job that you want to get in accounting. And like it, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't. To me, that doesn't signal what I think it may have signaled in 1975. But that's just me. I don't know what your thoughts are, Cameron. I'm sure your perspective might be different than mine as an employee of a university. But
yeah, for sure. I think the thing I would maybe bring into it is like just purely based on education. I think there's certainly things to like question and tap into, but thinking of college as more than just like going to class for, X number of hours a week. It's how do you tap into resources? Obviously, bias towards things like the Carlson Center, but like it's also a place for you to establish your network and engage with people. So I think where oftentimes the gap is people aren't plugging into the free additional resources that come with being a part of the university. And free meaning you're paying for it in terms of your tuition, but those additional support mechanisms that can support you, whether that is in entrepreneurship or in something else that you're looking to get into. I think tapping into that. But I think if you're just purely going on, hey, I want to take classes and you're, kind of working your job, I think there's more value maybe left on the table that some aren't plugging into. So that would be just my additional perspective. But if you're, hey, I like hands-on and you want to do trade school, I mean, people make a boatload of money in the trades. You just got to have to want to do that work. So I think there's plenty of opportunity out there, especially with the way, trying to bring more manufacturing back to the US, that there's more opportunities in that than there has ever been, at least since I've been alive.
Yeah, and I agree with all that as well. I think the point that I was trying to make is that the decision about whether to go to college or trade school or none of the above should be an economic one and not a moral one. I think was the point I was trying to make. Cool. Well, thank you for the question. You just delivered us a tough one right at the end there, but all right, we'll take it. Anything else you want to wrap about before we wish everybody happy holidays and bid them adieu?
No, nothing. Just have a wonderful holiday season, and I think it's a great time to reflect on, hey, what do you want? What did this last year look like? What do you want to do differently in the year to come? And also just to, think, some of the questions that we got were like, what type of venture do you want to have? And, I think the question we maybe would leave is like, what evidence and things do you need to improve over the next year for you to continue double downing your time or energy and investment in the ventures? And then also, what does an investor in whatever capacity that look like need to see as well? So, but also enjoy time not thinking about startups if you can as well. So,
yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, have awesome. A wonderful holiday season, everyone, and we'll see you in the new year.
We will see you on the first Friday in 2026. Have a phenomenal weekend. And for those of you who have a holiday ongoing now or next week, have a great time with that holiday. Happy New Year. Cameron, always enjoy our collaboration. I'm going to give you a big toast with this tequila bottle I have here for our partnership in 2025. Truly been my pleasure and privilege, and looking forward to all the awesome shit we're going to do in 2026.
There you go. Cheers to another year, and appreciate the partnership as well.
And with that, bye.
Bye.